Imagine being 18 years of age for your first yacht job you've ever had on the East African coast, which is known for piracy threats, and being told by your captain to jump off the bow of the boat, which is 30 nautical miles out at sea, to pull on the diver's tow line as fast as you can to get them out of the waters, and they're on a deep dive 35 meters down. This is my piracy scare, the only one I've ever had, and the story behind that situation. Welcome to Crew Stories. Hey everyone, my name is Jared Watney. Very honored to be asked by Tristan to come on board for Crew Stories and give you guys a little bit of a backstory of my early yachting career, as well as a story that stuck with me my entire life of my piracy scare on East Africa, my first yacht job I ever had. This story is set back in 2013. In order to give you some backstory, I'm gonna have to tell you a little bit about this boat.
There's one.
I'll probably be elaborating extensively on the start of my yachting career on my YouTube channel, but I'll talk about that later. But to give you a little bit of background, I was in South Africa. I had a friend of mine pop a text message saying, "Hey Jared, you want to do a delivery on an 82-foot catamaran from one part of South Africa around to Cape Town?" I said yes and jumped at the opportunity, jumped on a plane, flew out to that particular boat and did a free delivery. That then resulted in 3 months of experience work out of Cape Town, South Africa, and then the boat eventually headed down, this is very long story short, headed to East Africa to conduct a diving expedition. That diving expedition was going to be about 150 dives along the entire East African coastline, starting in Mozambique, going through to Tanzania, then to Kenya, and then borderline Somalia. We were just one little town off from actually being at the border of Somalia. You can imagine how scary that is. But this particular incident took place off the deep banks of Mozambique, which is really kind of interesting because that's not really necessarily the hot spot. The entire trip, I've got a lot of footage from that whole trip, but the whole trip was based around coastal dives all the way along the coast. And this was one of the first deep offshore dives that we decided to do. I say we, I mean the scientists behind there. I was just a little basic decky at the time.
How's it going, boys? Hey. How's it going? Jump boom, boys.
And basically this particular set of reefs, which is based off, it's about 30 nautical miles off the Mozambique shores, called Lazarus Banks. It's quite a famous dive site. It is a deep dive, meaning more than 30 meters. I think the divers are sitting at about 35 meters. And the whole purpose of their trip, the entire coastline, was to dive different parts of different reefs and kind of show what those reefs are like, and the ones that are coming to life again and the ones that are dying because of dynamite fishing and all sorts of other stuff. It was a really interesting experience. That being said, we were out on these Lazarus Banks, nobody around us whatsoever. The divers had descended and gotten to the bottom of the shore and had started their scientific research, when all of a sudden the captain, just the most eerie voice ever, and was like, "Jared, right now, get in the water and get the divers out the water right now." And that was it. I was just like, I looked around, I could see where he was looking. I could see a ship in the distance, like far. It was still far in the distance, but it was coming directly for us, like straight for us. And it was one of those like eerie fishing vessel type boats. And you're just like, so I literally fully clothed, fully uniformed, bounced off the trampoline on the bow and dived straight into the water, looked underneath to try and see where the diver's line was because they tow a line behind them, swam up to the diver's line because it was on a deep dive, I grabbed this thing and had to kind of pull because the line had a lot of slack in it. So here I am pulling this line up like this as much as I possibly can. And eventually it gets to it's tight and they're looking up to me and I'm having to like point like right now, pulling them to basically frustrate the divers. Now imagine if you're a diver watching this, imagine being at 35 meters, having someone tug on your line, like as hard as they possibly can, encouraging you to get up. My message worked. They started to slowly rise to the surface, but if you're a diver, you know it's not that simple. Making deep stops and safety stops will significantly reduce the amount of nitrogen in the body upon surfacing. Too much nitrogen and you've got a bit of a sickness problem. So that's the reason why they had to do all these stops all the way up to the top. It felt like it took a lifetime. And by the time those divers got to the top and we started literally hauling their stuff onto the back of the deck, basically going piracy scare, piracy scare. You can imagine the shock in the divers as well, straight up onto the back of the deck. And the captain literally headed for shore, full sticks, both sticks down as fast as he could possibly go. There was smoke coming out the back of this 82-foot catamaran that was definitely not made to do 20 knots. It could, it had some old John Deere engines in, but this thing was hauling as much as it could straight for land. Now, the only reason why we started to have these doubts, we called them on channel 16, they had no radio response. They were constantly hitting direct collision bearing for us at full steam ahead. You could see the wake behind the back of the boat. Now, as soon as we took off and we started to head straight for shore, you could see them start to bank and continue to trail us as we were headed straight for the shore. No radio response still, calling, changing channels, going onto a variety of different channels for that area in case they left their channels on the wrong one, calling. It started to get pretty dire. Now, I'm pretty sure they didn't expect a catamaran to do like 20, 22 knots because that's what we were doing. And once again, just trailing us. And the only thing I remember, I'm gonna try and find this bit of video now. I remember the guys going, please God, don't let them launch a tender. I'm 18 years of age. I remember shaking, like being in this adrenaline phase of just like, there's nothing I can do in this moment. So headed straight for the shore, eventually lost them. Eventually it was basically like they just couldn't catch up with us at all. We got to shore, we were all in like a bit of a panic shock state. Couldn't confirm 100% that it was piracy, but had to consider that it could be piracy. We ran the boat straight towards the shore, anchored up and went straight to this local restaurant that was there. And some chance at that particular restaurant that we were at happened to be the Navy. There was Navy patrolling in that area. We gave them the description of the particular vessel. We told them what had occurred. And the guy kind of smiled and we're like, what's going on? He said, that's the third time we've received reports of an exact type of vessel and exact type of situation taking out, particularly at the Lazarus Banks. Now, this could either be a very funny, not funny fisherman playing a joke on people as if it was a piracy scare because it was one of those weird looking piracy boats, or it was in fact a piracy scare, but we'll never know until this day. All I know is it didn't matter. We had to get ashore and we had to kind of get away from the particular threat. So that was towards the end of our trip. We still had a whole bunch of dives left, but I can tell you that that was the last and final offshore dive that we did on that particular trip. There was just no way we were willing to take the risks again. When we were up north, we were black bagging our windows so that at night we could go dead ship. It was quite an experience, and looking back at it now, I'm 26 now, asking myself like, what the hell was I thinking at 18 years of age to be embarking on a journey like that? But then again, when you're young and you're just fearless and you're living in the moment, you know, I just wish at the time that I was as much of a filmmaker as I am now back then, because to document all that really would have been quite something. Hey everyone, my name is Jared Watney. This was a small snippet into the start of my yachting career. For those of you that are unfamiliar, I know Tristan will allow me to do this. My YouTube channel is Jared Watney. I'm sure he'll link it down below, and it's a variety of yachting videos, and probably going to dive deep into how I got started in the yachting world and through to this particular time right now. Considering we're all in quarantine, I encourage everyone to stay home as much as you can and keep watching videos that Tristan puts out and some of the other yacht guys are putting out at the moment. We'll do our best to keep you entertained. It was a pleasure telling you this kind of interesting story, and I'm sorry I don't have more footage of those exact times, but it was pretty heart-thrilling and one that I will certainly never forget. Would love to hear if you guys have ever had any piracy threats, any other sailors out there that are watching this. Would love to hear what you guys think and what you would have done in those situations. Comment them down below, and I'm sure both Tristan and I will respond. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.